Okay, this is going to be legal issues for EMS educators, and this is going to be part 3. And in part 3, we're going to talk about federal safety laws and directives, negligent referrals, workers' compensation and other public benefit laws, health and malpractice insurance, confidentiality and data privacy laws, federal privacy laws and directives, closed-circuit television programs, and legal research. Learning safe environment laws. While safe environment laws are established on a basis of laws and consistent enforcement of safety programs, Virginia Tech University awakened in the American society in 2007 to real potentials of campus violence. The federal safety laws and directives are as follows. Safe and Drug-Free Schools and Communities Act of 2002, the Gun-Free School Act of 2002, Gene Cleary Disclosure of Campus Security Policies and Campus Crime Statistics Act of 1990. And these following laws that we're looking at right here are the ones that EMS educators should be very familiar with. So, the Safe, Drug-Free School and Communities Act of 2002. The Safe, Drug-Free School and Communities Act introduced zero-tolerance policies with regard to any type of disruption into educational environments, including hate speech, harassment, fighting, and inappropriate attire. Gun-Free School Act of 2002. Some states apply a federal Gun-Free School Act to higher education. Most state laws allow gun possession if allowed by the educational institution. Local policies must be clear in accordance with state guidelines. The Gene Cleary Disclosure of Campus Security Policies and Campus Crime Statistics Act of 1990 was adopted by Congress in 2009. The name is in the memory of Lay University freshman in Pennsylvania who was sexually assaulted and murdered in the residence hall in 1986. After investigation by her parents, they noticed that 38 undisclosed crimes had occurred on the university campus during the 3 years before her death. Today, all higher education institutions receiving federal funds are required to publish annual reports on crime statistics. With this document, 3 years of statistics must be reported. The report must be provided to all current students and employees. Additionally, this information may be provided to prospective students and employees as well as the public upon request. Negligent referrals. Negligent or inaccurate referrals. An educator who writes a letter of recommendation owes a duty to not misrepresent the qualifications or character of students if such action could result in harm to prospective third parties. This would be the case to students who have a known history of actions that may put others at risk. Workers' compensation and other public benefit laws. We're going to talk about coverage and fraud. Workers' compensation and other public benefit laws usually supplement lawsuits, so workers' compensation laws have been established to determine who will be eligible for benefits, such as the following. If they have benefits over family support, medical expenses, or any kind of wages lost. Coverage. Each state determines workers' compensation coverage because penalties against employers who fail to provide workers' compensation insurance can be severe. EMS educators should check and monitor the coverage of clinical sites. Fraud. Misrepresentation of injuries might result in charges of fraud. Because workers' compensation benefits are determined by physician reports, injured parties should be sure to provide accurate and detailed information. Health and malpractice insurance. EMS Instructor Malpractice insurance. Malpractice insurance is generally not a covered benefit, so EMS educators should determine the necessity of carrying such insurances themselves. In some institutions, EMS educators are required to carry malpractice insurance. Next issue is going to be federal privacy laws and directives, and the 4 laws that we're going to talk about here, or the 4 acts, are going to be the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act of 1974, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 2010, or HIPAA, and the Freedom of Information Act of 2009, Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act of 1974. The Federal Education Rights and Privacy Act of 1974, popularly known as the Buckley Amendment. FERPA, which is referred to as, enacted in response to concerns that personal information was being maintained and disseminated by the government. FERPA prohibits the release of student personally identifiable information to anyone without a legitimate educational interest in the information. FERPA guidelines: student records must be kept confidential, with access provided to outside third party only, with parental consent or with the consent of the adult age student. 2. They must access on request by the student's parents or guardians or adult age students. They may be challenged by parents or adult age students who think that their records are misleading, inaccurate, or in violation of their privacy rights. Things that would be excluded or not included by FERPA are sole possession notes, instructor's notes that are not accessible or revealed to any other person, such as grade books. Those are excluded. Medical records of adult age students, such as letters from physicians, psychiatrists, or psychologists for the purpose of treating students. Law enforcement records, student employee records, alumni records unrelated to the attendance as students. So all of those are excluded. The Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, or HIPAA privacy rule. Obtain a patient's permission before speaking to third parties about the patient's medical condition. Distribute privacy notices containing information concerning the use and disclosure of patients' medical records. And this allows patients to inspect their health records and request that they be modified or used restrictively. Now, oversight on this is from the Office of Civil Rights in the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and they are who are responsible for enforcing HIPAA. The Notice of Privacy Act, the EMS training educational programs that provide direct patient care are required to develop a Notice of Privacy practices in accordance with HIPAA regulations. The Freedom of Information Act. Freedom of Information Act. Most state FOIAs require EMS records and reports to be available upon request to law enforcement officers investigating criminal conduct. Closed circuit TV is our next subject here. Closed circuit TV programs. Practical issues as well as constitutional issues arise when balancing security, privacy rights, and EMS program transparency. EMS educators should clearly articulate their end goal in education as well as their means for which they plan to use closed caption television technology for their students. They must be aware that they are on TV, or maybe even as far as have a release of their likeness. Federal copyright and protection laws. Now, we look at these works subject to copyright protection over here. Things like literary works, musical works, dramatic works, pantomimes and choreography, pictorial, graphical stuff, motion pictures, sound recordings, and architectural works. And these are some examples of these. Now, all of these are under copyright protection, afforded to original works of authorship in any tangible medium of expression. So in any form or fashion, even if these are on an actual napkin of sorts, these are all under or have the ability to be under copyright protection. Legal resources. The primary legal resource for any EMS educator should be the institution's attorney or risk management officer. EMS educators are not always experts in the law, and we should obtain formal legal advice. In summary, EMS runs into legal issues every day on a daily basis. EMS educators need to have a basic understanding of the legal system. The standards for EMS education should uphold the integrity of the profession. Educators should be familiar with their own state's rules and regulations, and wise educators should be familiar with legal issues that would affect their actual program. If you have any questions concerning this information, please give me a call. My name is Roy Smith. I can be reached at smithr@imsa.net or 405-219-7613. Thank you.